Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking exactly how facility managers can take the massive, high-stakes risk of an unexpected HVAC failure and transform it into a managed, strategic victory. We're going to see exactly how the pros keep the doors open when the heat is literally on. Okay, let's dive into a genuinely terrifying scenario. Picture this. It's 115 degrees on a Tuesday afternoon in July in Phoenix. The pavement outside is practically melting. Inside, your primary HVAC system, which has been pushed way beyond its mechanical limits, just seizes up. The air gets completely still, the temperature starts climbing, and the clock is officially ticking on your business's survival. In an occupied commercial building, you know this isn't just a maintenance headache. It's a full-blown operational crisis. To get you out of reactive panic mode, we're going to blueprint OneSource Rental's exact strategy. We'll be looking at the cost of HVAC failure, navigating portable cooling tech, a retail rescue case study, the turnkey rental approach, and finally, planning for operational continuity. All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the costs of HVAC failure. We've got to start by acknowledging the invisible, catastrophic costs that begin compounding the absolute second your air conditioning goes offline. In retail or commercial spaces, a failure isn't just some internal hurdle. It immediately tanks your customer dwell time, the actual amount of time people are willing to hang around your environment. As the heat rises, dwell time drops, and that has a direct one-to-one correlation with lost transaction volume. But it goes beyond just the immediate lost revenue. It erodes customer trust and, crucially, creates serious OSHA safety hazards for your staff, especially anyone doing physically demanding work in back-of-house stockrooms. And this quote brilliantly illustrates the core problem. Turning customers away during business hours carries long-term financial and reputational consequences that far, far outweigh the cost of a temporary fix. Look, an unplanned closure tells your customers that you just aren't reliable, and honestly, that sour taste lasts way longer than the actual heat wave. You absolutely need a bridge to keep things running while the permanent repairs happen behind the scenes.
Moving right along to Section 2, navigating portable cooling tech.
So the trick here is knowing exactly which magical tool from the OneSource Rental's arsenal is going to fix your specific architectural nightmare. Because deploying the wrong machine won't just fail to cool the room, it can actually cause more mechanical issues. It's like a giant puzzle. We have to match the machine directly to the problem, whether that's an eco-friendly 25-ton industrial beast for a massive warehouse, a hyper-focused spot cooler for a sensitive server room, or specialized units for really tricky indoor spaces. For instance, let's talk about arid climates like Arizona or Colorado. Out there, evaporative coolers perform a literal miracle. By utilizing massive 10-hour water reservoirs and harnessing the physics of evaporation in dry air, these units can drop ambient temperatures by an astonishing 33 degrees. That is basically like walking into a refrigerator on a 110-degree day. This makes them the absolute premier solution for unconditioned spaces. Think loading docks, industrial bays, or outdoor patios where traditional refrigerated AC is just financially or physically impossible. But what if you're landlocked? Say you're in a deep interior office with no ceiling plenums or windows to exhaust the hot air. Standard air-cooled units just won't cut it there. This is where water-cooled cold wave units step up. They act as the ultimate invisible fix. They use a dedicated water source, like a simple sink tap or a closed-loop system, to dissipate thermal energy right down a drain line. No massive hot air ducts required. It is a total game-changer for high-security zones or those tricky windowless server rooms. Now, a massive misconception I hear all the time is that climate continuity is only for multi-million-dollar industrial disasters. But get this, a 6,000 BTU mini cooler can protect your office or workspace starting at a wildly accessible $30 a day. Scaling up to a 10,000 BTU XL model for larger rooms, that's just $60 a day. It is an incredibly low-barrier insurance policy to stop you from losing thousands of dollars in transaction revenue. Let's see this in action. Section 3. Case study, retail rescue. Let's ground all this theory in reality and see exactly how these technologies save the day during a worst-case, real-world scenario. Imagine a massive, occupied retail store, a national auto parts distributor, packed with browsing customers and busy employees processing orders. Suddenly, the central AC dies. The environment gets stifling fast, and the permanent repair contractor, well, they say they're 2 full days out. Closing the store means losing 2 whole days of revenue and alienating hundreds of loyal customers.
So OneSource Rentals executes a rapid, same-day deployment of 6 units, mixing standard and water-cooled systems. But here's the kicker. They didn't just drop them in the middle of the sales floor. They strategically positioned them in service corridors and discreetly routed the warm exhaust air right up through the ceiling plenums. They targeted customer-facing zones and those employee-heavy stockrooms all at once. The result? The store stayed comfortably open, the aesthetic remained totally intact, and the customers literally never even noticed the equipment. It was completely invisible to the public.
So, how does a rescue like that actually happen? That brings us to Section 4, the turnkey rental approach.
An invisible rescue, like we just talked about, that doesn't happen by accident. And it definitely doesn't happen if a vendor just unloads a machine and drives away. This turnkey approach ensures you aren't just renting a box. You're getting a fully integrated service. They calculate your exact environmental needs, deliver the solution 24/7 across multiple states, and handle absolutely all the ongoing maintenance. That means performing diagnostic checks, handling diesel or propane fuel drops, and doing routine filter cleanings for the entire duration of your outage. Here's a crucial takeaway. Improper sizing is the single biggest point of failure in temporary cooling. Actually, scratch that. It's pretty much a guaranteed disaster. If a unit is undersized, it just runs itself to exhaustion without ever fixing the temperature. If it's oversized, it short cycles and fails to control humidity. That's exactly why expert technicians meticulously calculate your space's heat load. They account for the number of bodies in the room, the heat radiating off server racks or machinery, and even the brutal desert sun beating down outside, all to prescribe the perfect, customized solution.
All right, wrapping things up with Section 5, planning for operational continuity.
Now that we've seen the tech and the tactics, let's talk about how you can flip the script on summer heat waves entirely. The difference between a beautifully managed bridge to repair and a chaotic, forced facility closure comes down to one thing: lead time. It's about when you make that first call to a partner like OneSource Rentals. If you're frantically Googling vendors while your servers are thermal throttling and your customers are walking out the door, well, you've already lost the battle.
But by setting up a continuity timeline today, getting your space proactively sized and mapped out days in advance, you ensure that when disaster strikes at minute zero, an eco-friendly R410A system or a targeted fleet of spot coolers is already on a truck heading to your loading dock by hour 1. You completely bypass the panic phase and move straight into seamless, sustained operation.
Look, hope is simply not a maintenance strategy, and the modern heat wave is entirely unforgiving. So, before the heat hits and your system fails, take action. Reach out to OneSource Rentals at 833-342-4455 or locally in Phoenix at 480-263-1119. Or just visit them online at onesourcerentals.com to start building your invisible safety net today. I'll leave you with this final thought. If your primary cooling flatlined today at exactly 2 p.m., how much revenue would go down the drain before you had to lock the doors? Plan now, stay cool, and keep your business thriving. Thanks for joining me on this explainer.